Ethan's ship cut through the atmosphere like a blade, the hum of its engines vibrating under his feet. The planet below was unlike anything recorded in human exploration logs. Its surface shimmered with a soft green glow, broken occasionally by deep blue rivers and towering forests that seemed to pulse with life. Sensors indicated unusual biosignals, ones that didn't match any known species. The mission was simple on paper: survey, study, report. But Ethan knew better. These kinds of planets rarely offered simplicity. He stepped onto the soil, feeling it soft and strangely warm under his boots. Each breath carried a faint scent, sweet and earthy, almost like a combination of flowers and rain. The air was breathable but thick, as though the planet itself exhaled slowly around him. Ethan activated his scanner, moving cautiously through the alien forest. The trees were enormous, their trunks wide enough that two people could hug them at once. Leaves shimmered faintly, reflecting light in strange, almost musical patterns. It was beautiful, yes, but also alive in a way that made him tense. After hours of exploration, he noticed something strange, a subtle shift in the readings, biosigns that weren't just from flora. They were deliberate, moving in patterns, almost like someone was observing him. His heartbeat quickened. He adjusted the scanner, narrowing in on the source. And then he saw her. She was crouched near a stream, drinking, her skin glinting like liquid silver under the alien sun. Her eyes, large and luminous, met his, and for a moment he froze. Leora. That was the name that came to him, though he hadn't spoken it aloud yet. There was something familiar about her, yet entirely alien. She was delicate, yes, but there was strength in her posture, a grace that made every movement purposeful. Ethan lowered his scanner slowly, deciding not to frighten her. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said gently. He stepped forward, careful, making sure his movements were slow and unthreatening. The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Leora tilted her head, curiosity flickering in her gaze. She spoke softly, her voice like wind through leaves. "You feel it too, don't you?" Ethan blinked. "Feel what?" he asked, unsure if he really wanted an answer. "My cycle," she whispered. "It activates. Only when you are near." Ethan's mind froze. He had studied alien biology, but nothing like this existed in any database. He forced himself to remain calm, remembering the core rule of human exploration: observe first, interfere later. Yet the tone in her voice was not fear, not demand, not desperation. It was calm, almost intimate, and full of trust. I don't understand," he admitted. "Are you saying it only activates when I'm close?" She nodded, her silver eyes reflecting the sun's light. "I do not know why. I cannot control it. But it begins when you are near." He swallowed hard, reminding himself of the mission. This was not about emotions. This was data. "Can I observe?" he asked cautiously. Leora considered him for a long moment, then slowly nodded. She stepped closer to the stream, kneeling beside the water again. Ethan lowered his scanner and watched. Over the next few hours, he recorded subtle changes in her biology, the way her heartbeat synchronized with his presence, how her skin seemed to pulse faintly in time with the planet's energy, how her movements became more fluid, more aware. It was mesmerizing, yet it was not just biology that fascinated him. The forest seemed to respond as well. Leaves shifted, flowers tilted, streams glimmered brighter. Ethan realized slowly that this cycle wasn't just a personal phenomenon, it was part of the planet itself. Somehow, Leora's presence with him was activating more than just her biology. It was awakening the energy around them. By evening, they sat by the stream, silence stretching comfortably between them. Ethan had learned her name, at least phonetically: Leora. He wanted to ask more, but words felt inadequate. Instead, he studied her, trying to understand. trying to make sense of a connection that defied every principle he had learned. "Do all of your kind react this way?" he asked finally. She shook her head. "No, only me, my people. We are rare. We connect only when it is safe, only when it matters." Ethan nodded slowly. "And this connection, is it dangerous?" "No," she replied, almost smiling. "It is natural. It is life." As the night fell, the forest came alive in new ways. Tiny lights flickered in the undergrowth, resembling fireflies but glowing in colors he had never seen before. Sounds echoed, harmonics that seemed musical yet alien, vibrating softly through the soil. Ethan realized he was not just observing life. He was part of it now. His presence mattered, whether he understood why or not. Days passed, each one blending into the next. Ethan learned to move with the forest, to notice the subtle signs of Leora's mood, of the energy that shifted when they were close. He began to see patterns. When he stayed near her, the flora thrived. Small creatures emerged from hiding, and the streams shimmered more brightly. His data was no longer just numbers and charts. It was life itself, responding to the presence of a human and a rare alien being. One afternoon, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Trees swayed violently, and Ethan grabbed a nearby branch to steady himself. Leora's eyes widened, and she grabbed his arm. "Not here," she whispered urgently, pulling him away from the epicenter. They ran through the forest, dodging falling branches, the ground quaking beneath them. The tremor passed, leaving them breathless beside a cliff that overlooked a vast valley. Ethan looked down and gasped. The valley below pulsed with the same green energy he had seen in the forest, only magnified, almost like the planet itself was alive and breathing. Leora placed her hand on his arm. "Do you see?" she asked. "It reacts to us. Your presence. It matters." He nodded slowly, the realization settling in. This planet, this alien life, and Leora herself were all part of a network far greater than he had imagined, and somehow his presence, his humanity, was the key to activating it. That night, by a fire they had made from fallen wood, Ethan and Leora talked, silently at first, just sitting close, feeling the forest around them. Words were unnecessary. Every gesture, every glance carried meaning. Ethan felt a profound respect for her, not just as a specimen to study, but as a being with her own agency, her own life, and her own choices. "I've never met a human like you," Leora whispered. "You are different." Ethan smiled faintly. "Different how?" "You do not fear life. You respect it. And because of that, I can be myself, my cycle. It can happen because you are here, not because you demand it, not because you control it, just because you exist." Ethan's mind reeled. Science had never prepared him for something like this. It wasn't just biology. It was philosophy. It was ethics. It was connection. It was humanity at its purest. Respect, trust, and understanding. As the fire crackled and the alien night stretched around them, Ethan realized something important. This mission was no longer about charts or reports. It was about connection. It was about learning what it meant to be human in a universe filled with beings unlike himself, beings whose lives and energies intertwined with planets, with ecosystems, with the very essence of existence. And in that moment, as Leora's eyes reflected the flickering flames, Ethan knew that this was only the beginning. The cycle, the bond, the mystery of this world. It was just starting. Tomorrow they would explore deeper into the forests, into the mountains, into the heart of the planet. And whatever challenges awaited them, they would face them together, not as scientist and subject, but as companions sharing a rare, extraordinary connection. The night was alive. And for the first time, Ethan understood that being alive was more than breathing. It was being present, being aware, and being part of something larger than oneself. Leora's whisper echoed in his mind, even as sleep claimed him. It activates only when you are near. And now he would never take that near presence for granted again. The morning sun filtered through the dense canopy, painting the forest floor with streaks of gold and green. Ethan awoke to the soft rustle of leaves and the gentle hum of alien insects. Leora was already awake, kneeling by a small stream, her silver skin reflecting the sunlight. She turned her luminous eyes toward him and gave a small smile. There was a calmness in her presence, a trust that had grown over the past days, binding them not just through curiosity but through shared experience. Ethan joined her at the water, dipping his hand in. The stream felt cool but energizing, as if the planet itself was pulsing through it. He observed her carefully, noting the subtle rhythms in her movements, the faint energy waves that emanated from her when he was near. Her cycle had stabilized, not frantic or chaotic, but harmonious, almost in tune with the planet around them. "Where do we go next?" he asked softly. "There is a place," she replied, her voice like a soft wind. "A valley where the life here is strongest. There, you may see why your presence matters." Ethan nodded, and together they moved through the forest. The path was not easy. Massive roots twisted across the ground, strange plants reached out with tendrils, and small creatures scuttled away at their approach. Yet every step they took seemed guided, as though the planet itself was opening a way for them. Ethan could feel it, the subtle vibrations, the soft pulse beneath his feet, in sync with Leora's rhythm. Hours later, they reached the valley. It was unlike anything Ethan had imagined. The grass shimmered with soft luminescence, trees towered in impossible shapes, and streams of liquid light crisscrossed the land. The entire valley seemed alive, breathing, reacting. And at its center, a structure rose, ancient, alien, built of materials that reflected both light and energy. It was a temple or perhaps a hub, and it thrummed with life, resonating with the same energy that Leora and he shared. Ethan stepped forward, awe gripping him. This is incredible," Leora nodded, her eyes shining. "This is where my people once connected with the planet. It is where life responds to life, and where the cycle is not just about reproduction, but about harmony, survival, and growth." He approached cautiously, scanning the structure with his instruments. Readings were off the charts, energy levels, unknown elements, fluctuating fields. "It's alive," he said. "Not just the planet, but this place itself." "Yes," Leora whispered. "And you make it awaken." Ethan blinked. "Me?" She nodded. "Your presence completes the cycle. Without you, the energy cannot balance. Without you, the connection remains dormant. You are essential." The weight of her words settled over him. He had always thought of himself as small, insignificant, a lone human among countless stars. Yet here, on this remote world, he mattered. Not just as an observer, not just as a visitor, but as a participant in a living system far larger than himself. They explored the temple carefully. Strange carvings lined the walls, depicting beings much like Leora, interacting with structures that resembled this valley. Ethan studied them closely, noting the harmony of shapes, the balance of forms, and the integration of life and energy. It was art, science, and history all combined, and it spoke of a civilization that understood the universe in ways humans had not yet imagined. As they moved deeper, a tremor shook the valley. Ethan grabbed Leora's hand instinctively. "What is it?" he asked, concern lacing his voice. "Not all energy is balanced," she said. "Sometimes the cycle must adjust. Sometimes it reacts violently when new presence is introduced." A section of the temple shimmered, revealing a hidden passage. Ethan hesitated, but Leora's hand on his arm reassured him. Together they stepped inside. The air was charged, humming softly. Walls glowed faintly, responding to their movements, to their very presence. Ethan realized that they were not just observing, they were interacting, changing the environment by existing within it. At the heart of the passage, they found a chamber with a basin of luminous liquid. Leora approached it slowly, her eyes reflecting the light. "This is the core," she said. "Here, the cycle is strongest. Here, the planet and I are one, and your presence, it completes the link." Ethan watched as she lowered her hands into the basin. The liquid reacted instantly, swirling around her, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat and the energy he felt radiating from her. A soft wave of warmth swept over him, calming yet powerful, as though the valley itself recognized him as part of the cycle. "This is incredible," he whispered. "I've never seen anything like this. Your biology, the planet, it's all connected." She looked at him, a faint smile on her lips. "It is not just biology. It is life, awareness, trust. It requires respect, understanding, and balance. You are the first human to understand this." Hours passed in silence as Ethan observed. He could see how her cycle influenced the environment. The streams glowed brighter, the grass swayed in gentle waves, the trees seemed to stretch taller. Even the air felt different, charged with energy that resonated in his chest. And yet, it was peaceful. Not forced, not dangerous, but natural, harmonious. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the chamber. Ethan stepped forward. "What now?" Leora's expression turned serious. "The cycle attracts attention. Other life forms may react. We must be careful." Before he could ask more, creatures emerged from the shadows. Tall, angular beings with glimmering exoskeletons. They did not attack immediately, but their presence was intimidating. Ethan realized they were drawn to the energy, curious, perhaps cautious. Leora stepped forward, her hands raised in a calming gesture. The creatures paused, observing. Ethan stayed close to her, realizing that together their combined presence was a signal, a reassurance. The creatures gradually relaxed, some even approaching, sensing the harmony. Ethan understood then that his role was more than observer. He was part of the balance, part of the cycle that kept this ecosystem alive and stable. The creatures led them to a deeper chamber, one filled with crystalline structures that amplified the energy from the cycle. Leora gestured for him to touch one. Hesitant, Ethan placed his hand on the crystal. A surge of warmth and light flowed through him, linking him to the planet, to Leora, and to the creatures. It was an overwhelming sensation, yet he felt no fear, only understanding. "This is why you are needed," Leora whispered. "Not for control, not for dominance, but for balance, for life to continue in harmony." Ethan nodded, finally comprehending the magnitude of what he had stumbled into. Humanity often saw itself as small, unimportant, or destructive. Yet here, he realized, humans could be a force of connection, of harmony, of understanding. And in this alien world, he had found proof. As the sun began to set over the valley, Ethan and Leora emerged from the temple. The creatures watched from a distance, their movements fluid and respectful. The forest glowed softly, reflecting the energy that pulsed between them. Ethan felt a deep sense of belonging, a rare understanding that he had never experienced before. "We should stay here a while," Leora said. "The cycle is stronger when we remain close. And the planet, it will teach you if you listen." Ethan agreed. Days turned into weeks as they explored, learned, and strengthened the bond between themselves and the world. He recorded everything, but this time it was not just data. It was understanding, empathy, and respect. He realized that the real mission was not scientific discovery alone, but the experience of connection, of being present, and of recognizing the value of life in forms beyond human comprehension. One evening, as they rested by the stream, Ethan looked at Leora. "I never imagined I would find this. Not just an alien species, but companionship, understanding, and purpose." She smiled softly. "Purpose is not given. It is discovered. And you have discovered it here, with me, with the planet." The stars began to appear, reflecting in the luminous streams and casting shadows across the valley. Ethan felt a quiet thrill, a sense of peace that came from knowing he had found a place where humanity could touch the universe, not through conquest or fear, but through respect, trust, and harmony. And as the night stretched around them, he realized that this was just the beginning. The cycle, the connection, the understanding. They would continue to grow, guiding him, guiding Leora, and guiding the life of the planet itself. Together, human and alien, they became part of something larger than themselves, a bond that transcended species, that united life and energy, and that showed that humanity, at its best, could inspire, protect, and nurture even the most alien worlds. The valley pulsed softly around them, alive and watchful. And Ethan knew that wherever humanity went next, the lessons of this world, the lessons of trust, balance, and presence, would be carried forward. And in the quiet of the alien night, Leora whispered again, just for him, a soft promise and a truth. "It activates only when you are near." And this time, Ethan understood fully, not as science, not as curiosity, but as life itself.